what I want to do is just run through twists. Now, with twists, there's a whole host of different ones, and I'll come back to these in a minute. So you've got that, you've got that, and I want to emphasize that when you start on twists, the thing to get into your mind is that it's what you take away that's the important part, and the marking up. Now, I've divided this little piece before I came into 4 divisions, and that's all you need to know. Just 4 divisions for a twin start spiral. And I say a 2 start because it's there. Now, when you're marking these things out, there's what's called a standard twist. Now, a standard twist, it can be called a standard twist, a European twist, an English twist, a Celtic twist. There's a whole raft of names, and they all apply to exactly the same thing. The standard is where the divisions are the same diameter as the piece you're working on. So that's a standard. If people say, oh, I want a 0.75 twist, I want a 3/4 twist, as it's sometimes referred to, all it is that diameter is 3/4 of that diameter. If that's 2 inches, it will be 1.5 inches, and it would tighten up the spiral or tighten up the twist. So just marking those, and you do exactly the same regardless of the length or whether you go to a 3/4 twist or not. And then it's just a case of marking up the divisions. A piece of milk bottle cut down flexible, it makes a good rule. So the marking is dead simple. It doesn't have to be absolutely precise, but it needs to be more or less there or thereabouts. These are very largely hand work. Take that through to the end. Okay, so that's marked out. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go like that along that line. This is 2 start, so that one, round, miss one, the next one. it seems funny to mark something out and then just more or less cross it out immediately afterwards. That is where the dip is going to be, and that is the centre of the high point. So you've got something to guide you right from square one. There you go. So what happens when we have a taper on and you're wanting to do a twist? I've, as you can see, just pre-shaped this, and we've set the platform and the pencil to centre height, and we now need to put down 4 marks. Number 1, I need to be able to see, that was 36, I don't, I'm going to just do that.
Just line it up.
Yeah. That's 36. That's not a quarter, is it? Okay. And another one. Okay. I got Lance kindly manipulating the indexer. Okay. Right, we're okay. That's okay. So we've got our 4 lines down. 4 lines equals 2 starts. The line you don't cut on is the crest of the marked out piece. So it's marked out exactly the same as the standard twist, with the exception being that you have to alter the length. So there's the first division. I then alter the calipers to go to the second, alter the calipers again, third, calipers, and you see very quickly how the different length of the pitch compounds up. Just the shortening by 2 or 3 mils And you can see there how the pitch lengthens as it gets bigger. And that is relatively simple to deal with. Flexible rule, it's okay. It's okay, hang on lads. The flexible rule does it a bit from, and I'm going to miss one now. Those are the two starts, and this is just a bit of flexible, a bit of a milk bottle. You know, it doesn't matter very much whether it's dead accurate or not, because it's hand. You'll correct. And that is now marked out. You can see that there's a point here we missed one of the marks, so we will cut that one up and leave that one high. Now, felt pen. I'm going to use a felt pen, and a felt pen, just tracing along here, that gives you the top of the crown of the twist. So you're going to, when you turn this, all you'd cut it in exactly the same way as you did the other one, and you're aiming for that to become this, and there's the top of the crest there. That is the bottom, that's the bit you're going to saw along, and you've got an even pitch, a standard pitch. The standard pitch, once again to remind you, is the diameter of the piece, but it's coming down all the time. And if you work to that crest, you'll end up with a nice shape, not something like this which is unfinished and ornamental firewood, in that I tried to bore a hole down the middle and my auger wasn't long enough to get down from both ends. We ended up coming out of the side, so it's ornamental firewood, nothing more. And that, I think, as far as twists is concerned, is all we need to do. The next bit is relatively crude. What I've got here is an absolutely bog standard saw. On it I've just put a piece of adhesive tape, and that's given me a rough depth gauge. So the ones that are crossed out I leave, and it's just a matter of following when you saw these and you're on a twist, the saw always tends to cant over. Just a law of physics, I suppose. One done, and then it's just a repeat on the second. Okay, so simple, crude. Now starts the handwork, and I do say it's all handwork. That's why I've only done a little piece, otherwise it'll just go on and not too interesting. But just a dead ordinary firmer wood chisel. I'm cutting on the far side of this, and if you look, there's the grain, so I'm cutting down the grain. Then on to the next one, once again on the far side, and it's down the grain. It's always easy to cut wood down the grain. Just think about when you're sharpening a pencil. You don't do it straight across, you take it down the grain. And when you get used to different lathes, it's quite easy, if you're not careful, to put this thing into your hand. So just think a little bit about where you're actually holding it, and don't cut towards your hand or not too close to your hand. Right, I've cut down. Now if I try to cut this side now, I'm cutting into the grain, not down the grain. So simple thing, just reverse the piece of wood and now we've got the opportunity once more to cut down the grain with the grain. Make it easy for yourself. You can see you relatively quickly get the start of a groove, which is exactly what we're trying to do. Once again, just rotate it. So this is what's called a two-start standard twist. The standard is the length of the pitch, and if you want, you can always go to a 3/4 pitch, a half pitch, and the effect of that is to compress the twist. And it also, I might add, makes the cutting out rather more difficult. So I'm just coming down here a bit deep. I'm trying to deepen this now. I should go back and have another go on this side. So it's not very scientific, it's not terribly skillful. So I've gone down that. I'll reverse this again and go back down those sides, because I should be able to get it a little bit deeper on the second cut, so a bit wider as well. These things are all much the same work, and if I'd done 4 cuts down and bored a hole, I could have had 4 ribs like this, or I could have a hollow one like you've got there. So that is not too bad there. The next thing is you just get wood out by whatever means you can. I've got a variety of things here, all of which work for better or worse. The circular serve form. You can see that's getting there. I've got to do the same on this. I've got a variety of different things, so there's the circular serve form. This is from Axminster, and as a shaping tool it's one of the best things I've ever come across. On this side you've got a coarse hacksaw blade, and on this side a smaller one, and it really doesn't matter what you use to get rid of the wood. So, circular hacksaw, you've seen these before, they're extremely good razor cut, but they are relatively expensive. But if you're going to do much sort of forming work, I'd suggest that one of these. They also make small ones. You see, all the time I'm just working towards that top to round it off. And I know I've got to go deeper on the groove, but if you keep taking it a little bit at a time, you can see where you're going. If you go too deep too soon, you're in danger of not getting a nice smooth top. As I said before, far easier to take wood off than it is to put it back on. So now I need to go deeper. Once again, this is the small rotor thing, and I find these little ones exceedingly good. You can see how quickly you get down. I'm sorry if it's a little bit like watching paint dry, but you relatively quickly get the idea of you can use almost anything. I mean, the old timers just used to use chisels to do all this, just a hand chisel, and I guess they were very practiced and an awful lot quicker than me. So you've got smaller centre ones. That centre is beginning to impede me, so what I'm going to do is just change the centre over. No, a steb, a small steb. No, that'll do. Don't matter. That'll be a bit better. Sorry, that step centre was just beginning to get in the way. Anybody fancy doing 150 stair spindles with a 2 foot long twist, standard twist? I think not. So that's that. Now I'm going to go back to this one and start taking and trying to round towards that other mark. And once you start rounding to the other mark, you get some idea as to whether you're deep enough. It's quite an easy way to take skin off your fingers as well, if you're not careful. Clearly, it's not deep enough, is it? I don't know how far I need to go along with this, Lance, but I'll just introduce a couple more little gizmos. not going to finish this, but I've got here a couple of other things I've acquired over the years. These are sanding boards, and you can get different coarseness of them. It's a thing to hold, and it's quite good for, you know, the final little bits of. Once again, it's an Axminster tool, and in some situations I find them exceedingly good. They give a relatively good finish, and there's that shape, there's a bigger one, more rectangular, and a little one for getting into corners. I sometimes use them on ordinary turnings as well. So as far as twists are concerned, I can't see any point in going a lot further on that. I'm just going to have to round it to that point there and that point there. But I'll come back to the things I showed you to start with. That is where we're going. It's a 2-start standard twist. 1 start, 2 starts, and that's it. The pitch is the diameter going up like that, and it's the commonest of all the twists, a standard twist. That is exactly the same, except we put a hole up through the centre and then just carried on removing wood and shaping until we hit the gap. So that once again is a standard 2-start twist. Nothing secret, nothing. If by any chance you want something a little fancier, if you still put the hole up the middle and have 4 starts, you'll end up with 4 columns on a standard twist. And this one is what's called a ribbon twist. You can see it's just like a ribbon of wood. It's a 2-start standard twist, and it's just that we've taken more wood away. I've kept it a gap I marked out on the ridge where I wanted to go to, and I just hollowed out. So that's a ribbon twist on a standard, it's just a standard pitch. And you can have lots of fun doing these things. If you put a hole up the middle, as we have in that, on a piece of light wood, and then turn a piece of ebony or black wood or any other dark coloured wood and put it down the middle and do that, you'll end up with a black middle to it. And it's very attractive. It's just, it gives you quite a lot of things for pedestals. They can be more or less complex, but there is absolutely nothing in twists and spirals which is difficult. I just suggest you have a go. Okay, if there's any questions, shout up. Okay, so what we're going to do now is start putting twists onto, and I say twists, onto vessels, and it can either be used for surface adornment, and this is a piece which I've done, relatively simple. It's a bit of laburnum, and it's 24 starts, and on a vessel like this it gives a slightly wider rib to start with, and it comes down, and you can see you can finish it quite neatly. One of the problems of doing surface adornment is that if you use a lot of twists, as on this, which is actually 48 starts, it becomes very congested here, and you can see there's one or two little chips. I'm going to have to attend to that, but it does give a very nice effect. It's not technically difficult, and it's just getting a nice piece of wood. The alternative is to do pierced work, and this is an 8 start, I think, or rather more, and once again it's not technically difficult, it's just a matter of time. So what I'm going to do now is just shape up this piece of laburnum and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we're on. It always helps to have a lathe going in the right direction. One of the things I would say about this sort of turning is don't pretend you can get away with a little tiny spigot. You can't. I've already preset the calipers, so I'll start to go in and rough up. That's okay. I'll just make it slightly deeper. I like to get that bit done relatively early because I can then concentrate on getting a shape. To make hollowing easier, I'm going to have a narrow neck on this piece. just look what we've got. We've got a bit of colour, so that's not too bad. I need to refine the shape slightly, but I'm now going to put a second spigot on, because this bit here I'll use for rechucking, and then I've got a point at which to part off the thing. So it's just a little bit of thinking ahead. I'm just setting the calipers. And a parting tool once again is a relatively simple piece. Okay. This tool I'm using is called a bodger's gouge. It's what hole turners use, and it's brilliant for just evening up surfaces. You see, it's a relatively decent finish. I need a little bit more out here, and then we're okay. Left a little bit of flat just above that spigot, because it allows the chuck to seat it once again. Okay, so that's the initial marking out. Now we have to start marking out for the spiral. The marking's more or less the same as on spindle work, and if I can borrow a glass. I'm just setting centre height on what I think is the stop. Right, so can we go 9, Lance? Yep.
I want 36, right? 9. Yeah.
18, 27, and 36. There we've got 4 starts. Now this is a 36 point spindle. So what I need to do is just use a pair of calipers to set to halfway. So if I just come in visually on the points, one there, sorry, we're more or less there. Right. That's my pencil. It's quite important that you get these things more or less right, and I'll come back and bring the lines down in a second. If your lathe is a 24 index, these things are sometimes a bit simpler, but that's all. Right, so it's just come along. There we are, we're ready for 8 starts. Now we're going to put a mark for a stop. This is the bottom of where I'm going to cut to, and we need also one on the top. And that's a bit of a pencil. Okay. Can we just have that flexible rule, please? No, the flexible one is the flex. Okay. If you put a guess mark, and this is where this bit is non-scientific, it's just having a look to see where things are going to fall. It's all going to get taken off anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And looking at that, if I'm running from the top to the bottom, and all I'm using is a bit of plastic cut from a milk bottle, there is the first line. And I'm going to go around and mark each one of these up, and we've got the marking out then done for this. I'm sorry, I've just got to concentrate on this a little bit. And I'm hoping I've got everything right. It's quite easy to either miss one or go one too far, so just have a fairly careful look. And according to me, those are the lines to put the slots for this piece. It's not science. You can slope them further, you can condense them and make them more round, but I find that sort of angle is relatively okay. So what we've got to do now is use the Arbitec to cut those slots. And I've got an able assistant who's running around doing this fairly quickly. So it's a mini Arbitech with a standard cutter on it. It's going to cut a relatively thin slot, but that's not bad because you can always open slots as you get. If you cut them too wide to start with, you can't put wood back. It's one thing I've learnt about wood turning. It's easy to take it off. It's a damn sight more difficult to put it back on. So here we go. So that's the majority of the work done, and really it's now just like any other hollow form. The one thing I tend to do is just take this fur off the side to start with. And I don't know why I do this, but it seems to make just watching things later a little bit easier, just to have. And it's simple, just taking the worst of it off. I found in wood turning, anything which makes things simpler is a good thing. Okay, it's now time to take this and put it onto the chuck. So, somewhere lands it, I've got to knock out now. You can see that here I'm not quite onto the bottom, so it's seating as strongly as it's going to manage to be, and this little clearance makes all the difference. So it's something to remember. Choose what you're putting on a chuck. Don't have it sat on the base. Have it sat on the wood. A few technical adjustments. I'm just going to have a drill, please. Lance has kindly provided a lovely drill. That's not seated there. Okay, right. We'll switch on, and what we're going to do is we're going to come down to about this point. Okay. What? When you're drilling, it's relatively important that you keep bringing back out the drill to clear the hole, otherwise the bit can jam in there. I'm sure I'm telling my mother how to suck eggs. Thanks, Lance. Now, one of the things some of you might be asking is why put the slots in before you start to hollow. I saw Stuart Mortimer, who is the sort of twist and spiral king, doing a demonstration at Harrogate, and it made sense when he said it's far more delicate at that stage, far more likely to break the piece if you try to put the slots in later. If you put the slots in early, you can see not only the thickness of the vessel, but you're less likely to actually break the ribs off, and it's something which stuck with me, and I've tried both ways, and I'll assure you he's right, because I have managed to break the ribs off things hollowing. I think, Lance, we're going to have to move this camera position for me to hollow. I'm not sure whether we can get round the far side, can we? So it's just a little case of waiting. I'm sorry. I'm going to do nothing but hit the camera, Lance. Can it go back forward? Always with hollowing, the one thing that when you're using wood like this, you're never quite sure what tool's going to be best to do the hollowing with. Many of you have seen me using a ring tool, and that on this piece would be my first choice. So we'll start with the ring tool and see how we get on. Now, small ring tool, it's got a sharp bevel there and it's got another one there, so you can turn it round as you go. So let's just see how we get on, working more or less at mid-height. What I'm doing is just working my way down. It really, I'm finding the camera's a little bit. Starting to bounce on the thing. There's going to come a point where I reach the slits, and then you can, this stuff will start coming out between the slits a little bit as well. So it's just keeps bouncing on the rubbish that's in here. Yeah, stick it in those. I'm just going to have a go with a slightly different tool, see whether it's done any better. If you're wondering why I switched tools, the one thing I forgot to do before I came was to sharpen the ring tool. Now, if you look, you can see we're just starting to get through the slits. So, you know, we're getting there, and it'll be relatively quick once that's done, I hope. And you can see apart from the bottom, we're now through the slits. So we've got a relatively even wall thickness, and that's just a case of now I've got to get a little bit more out deep down here, and then that's the hollowing done. If this looks very awkward, it is partly because I'm trying to turn around the camera and I'm working at arm's length, but what we've got here now is a vessel which is really ready for sanding out, or almost. There's one or two feathers in there, one or two bits that need a little bit of attention. This is a perfect example of what happens with this work.
We're not on there.
No, leave it be. It's not a bad thing that broke, Lance. Right.
Well, we've got the